Introduce you with great pleasure to Ekaterina Walter.
Hi everybody, how you doing? Whoa! I have my own people I paid here to sit and cheer. Alright, so based on the tweets, I think you're doing amazing. There's great sessions, a lot of tactics and strategies being discussed. Today I thought I'll talk to you about something more a little bit generic, which is trends. So, alright, perfect. The trends that I'm seeing in the industry that I think will seriously impact the way we do marketing. So 5 trends, looking forward to hearing your thoughts as well. If you're experiencing same trends, if you're seeing something else, but I was just focused on 5 today. The number 1 is actual power of millennials. Here's the reality. The reality is the Generation Y, digital natives, whatever you want to call them, these are your current and your future customers. 50% of population, world population, is under 30 years of age. What does that tell us as marketers, right? The whole power of the new generation, the young generation that grew up with technology, grew up with social networks, who totally communicate differently, who see the world differently, who consume information differently. They are educated, they are sophisticated, they are connected, and they are very, very global. So for us global brands, that means a lot. Why do we even look at them? If you look at data, right, in the US alone, that they command buying power of about 200 billion annually. But the thing about Generation Y and millennials is that the critical part is that they actually not only influence their peers, they influence the baby boomer generation, they influence their parents. They are the generation that everybody goes to ask the question of, what are you consuming? Where are you looking for information? What about this product? What are your thoughts are? So their actual combined estimated buying power is more towards 500 billion a year. And here's these 3 fundamental truths about Generation Y or millennials that I think that are either misunderstood or that we don't get. One is you consume and buy and promote products that you grew up with. It all starts when they're in high school, when they're younger. Whenever, at the time when they're developing their own brand, if they use particular products or particular services, that's what they're used to. That's what you're pretty much guaranteed they'll stick to. So ask yourself a question. As marketers, are you tapping into their mind share? Are you telling them about your products? Second one is millennials are chief technology officers in every single household. I can pretty much guarantee it. There's sort of a trend that people talk about called hand-me-ups, right? Hand-me-downs. That is when the young generations buy technology, they use it for 6 months, 8 months, and then it's old, so they give it to their parents to use. Here you go, mom and dad, here's an iPhone, right? So that whole hand-me-ups trend is real, and it's not just with technology, it's just their opinions about everything else and how they influence those. And the third fundamental truth, and hopefully you guys don't get offended by that, but we as marketers, even me, and as a brand marketer, I admit we know nothing about communicating to millennials. We are absolutely clueless. There's a millennial staring at me right now. Come on. That's right, correct? This is a different generation. This is absolutely a different approach, different communication tactics, different marketing. So, good news is that they are actually engaging with brands. They love brands. But what they want to do is they don't want to be marketed to. They want to help shape the brands that they love. So, if you look at just this data, there's a lot of data out there. I chose to use this one, right? How often do you go on Facebook? How often do you actually interact with content from a brand? If you look at millennials, which is red line versus non-millennials, right? The numbers are pretty large. So there is hope for marketers. So I put together my own sort of kind of quick cheat sheet of what millennials are, what are they all about. It's still a little bit of generic trend. I want to caveat this with every single brand is different. How they engage with millennials, which millennials they engage with is going to be different. So before you go jump in and just kind of this is some generic trend that we're seeing across different industry, across millennial generation, but you still need to ask yourself, what specifics do you want to focus in with your product and service? So one, peer influence is twice as important as advertising to them. Now, keep in mind, they still think search and reviews are very important. So they will still go and consult the opinions of people that they don't know, but the peer influence is more pronounced in this generation than any other. Responsible brands always win. I looked at the sort of global trends, not just in the US, but also in Europe and Asia, and what we're starting to see is that this is a generation that cares about environment, about safety, about privacy, etc., etc. So when you engage with them, not only you want to show your heritage as a responsible brand, you want to tell them your story in the right way, you also want to use marketing tactics like cause marketing. In a smart way. A lot of nonprofits really reach out to millennials in some amazing ways, and they really speak their language and they get a lot of impact. Market with them, not to them. This is a generation that believes that collective power, sort of power of collective wisdom, is much bigger than the power of just what one individual knows. So they want to actively participate with your brand. They want to be included. So ask yourself, if you're already on social networks, or if you're doing marketing, are you going that one extra mile to talk to this generation and ask them questions? It can be as simple as, hey, we decided to use 2 logos for a particular campaign. Why not put it out there on Facebook, Twitter, etc., and engage them and ask people which one you like? You like both, but engage your audiences and engage your younger fans in helping shape your marketing messages, your brands, even your content, right? So user-generated content, contests and just programs, they do really, really well. Allow youth to express themselves. Here's the thing, if you help them position their brand in a unique and valuable way, they will love your brand. They will love you for it, and they will engage in advocacy around your brand. So offer personalization, offer certain ways for them to say, hey, we're here and we're here to help make you look better. So here's an example. Last year, by the way, who heard about Intel's application called Museum of Me? Some folks, yeah, Rick heard it. I think you say that. But, what we've had is we've created a Facebook application for Asia market only that actually pulled your videos and pictures out of your Facebook and created your own Museum of Me. And at the end, the robot put together a picture of your profile picture out of the pictures of your friends, and it was fun. It took off. Overnight, our servers crashed. It began to spread in Europe, it began to spread in Latin America, and the question became, why? The reason is because we appealed sort of to egos and sort of to that whole expressing your own brand sort of trend, especially in younger generation. And it's been going on, it has been exploding for a year. We then came back, revised the digital version, we scaled it globally. That's an example of really asking yourself, is this something that will appeal to your younger audiences, not just overall your consumers, but younger audiences specifically. Facilitate live and deliver tailored experiences. They create adventure, they want novelty, they love surprises, they want to experience things and create memories with friends. That is extremely important to them. So the whole idea that we have about they're only online is not true. They want to take their online experiences and bring them offline. So what are you doing in both worlds to facilitate those amazing experiences for them? And they're stimulation junkies. Those two kind of go hand in hand. They value sort of emotions like happiness, like surprises, spending time with their friends. So that's why you need to continuously work on stimulating sort of their senses, their sense of adventure. So in this case, what we found is gamification. Gamification actually works extremely well. And I think Duke's our umpire that he left, but I think he'll tell you that he probably has a lot of young millennials engaged in there because there's that gamification element behind the network. They're looking for instant gratification. No matter what you think about millennials, they work hard, but they also expect to be rewarded for working hard. Meaning, it's okay for me to go buy a new tech device or a luxury product because, you know, I believe that I deserved it. So they do spend more in, you know, in the industry just overall on sort of consuming products, buying products, you know, spreading word of mouth about the products that they like, and high-end products at that. That one is one of the most important trends I think that millennials share, and that is their entrepreneurial generation. You know, I've seen enormous studies that say, you know, they don't want to work for brands, they want to be self-employed, they want to create awesome things, but even if they're working for brands, they are very innovative in the way they approach things. So what we did at Intel is we created last year sort of Intel Innovators program, and it was a platform on Facebook that allowed 18 to 24-year-olds submit their ideas around their businesses or, you know, baked ideas around businesses they wanted to run, a product that they wanted to create, and then we let VC or angel investors and some of our most active fans actually vote on those ideas. And the platform exploded. It brought a lot of you know, young fans into our Facebook page and to our Twitter account. And when we just kind of slowed down, the program slowed down, we've gotten a ton of requests saying, no, we want to be part of it. You know, please do more of that, because we want a space where our ideas are heard first. All right, because we've got millions and millions of impressions on the program, but second, also our ideas funded. Not only just funded, but offer them a way to educate them. How do you build your business? How to do it smartly? Just kind of empower them with information. That's what they're looking for. They're international. So if you think there's different local trends, or they just are interested in engaging locally around just very narrow topic, subject, or brand, it's not true. They are very much a part of a global village. They're global citizens. And obviously they're highly social. So again, talking about experiences, facilitate fun experiences online and offline. One of my favorite European example is Martini. They do this secret sort of moving bar / sort of club party environment, where nobody knows the location of the next one, but all the young audiences get to spread the word to their in-crowd of where it is, and just kind of really, it's hush-hush, but it creates enormous buzz, enormous word of mouth. Not only it brings people together to create those sort of face-to-face experiences, but it also creates amazing organic buzz for the brand. So that's an example of sort of bringing them together offline. They're very much content creators. So if you're not taking advantage of that, you're already behind. Even without reaching out and putting specific programs in place, go look at your Facebook page. I bet you have people tagging your brand with pictures of, I love Intel, I created this image or this animation specifically for you without you even reaching out. Reward that, and I'll show you how we reward that on Pinterest. Image and status matter. So 40% would pay extra for products that would allow them to convey the image they want to convey. So how are you doing that? How are you tapping into that? And obviously mobile devices is basically their body part, right? When we market, we think, oh my God, you know, mobile and all this new technology, it's a big thing, we gotta think about it. They don't. It's just part of who they are. They don't think about it the way we do, right? At least who's been doing marketing for years. My number 2. Convergence of paid, owned, and earned media. This is a big trend, a trend that we've been kind of observing for a little while, and last year, Intel specifically made a decision, which I think is a smart strategic decision, to combine our paid media team and our social media team. Not only that, but even have Convergence go beyond that, right? Work with creative teams and messaging teams and web teams, et cetera, to really bring it all together. And here's why. Convergence of paid and social shows a significant sales impact. I will show you the data that supports that, and this is just some of the data that supports that. But here's what's happened. Before that happens, you need to have internally a convergence of mindsets. You need to have people say, listen, social exists to amplify traditional and the other way around. Together they're important. So that's one of the things that you need to shoot for when you're doing that internally. There needs to be convergence of departments. So we've done it in a specific way. You can do it in a different way. But how do you work with all aspects of marketing, from creation, right, of assets or a program to distribution of this assets or program, right, whether it's through social or any of your other own channels, to actually amplifying it with paid, right? They all need to work together, and when they do, the impact is so much higher, and we've seen it, at least at Intel, we've seen it time and time again. And this is the hardest. Convergence of tools and analytics. And the reason why it's hard is because the industry is so defragmented that it's hard to put it together. For right now, for us to track all of our home kind of efforts, we have 12 plus tools in place to try to figure out how do you not only measure it all on all different channels, but how do you bring it together and measure it apple to apple, right? Because you used to have tools and ways to measure traditional, and for years that totally do not apply to how social, for example, is measured, or how your word of mouth is measured. So what that does, it helps you create a holistic brand story in a comparable way and provides improved results. Again, I know it because we've seen it. So then Ogilvy is one of the studies I want to show you. They went in last year and they did the study among sort of restaurants chains, but they tracked 20 plus media channels used by consumers in those chains to figure out, is social impactful, for one, and second of all, how does it all work with traditional? Here's what they found. Staggering numbers, absolutely. 17% increase in spend if people were exposed to social channels and social messages, but if that was amplified by paid. 2 to 7x in a combination, higher probability of increase in sales and increase in word of mouth. 4 out of 5 cases where the impact was observed, they were exposed to social media and at least at a minimum one other traditional channel. So what does that mean? And this is the graphic that I love by altimeter, so I just basically borrowed it. That talks about the whole cycle of what you do with your programs, right? So you start with your content strategy and you say, what works based on my objectives and based on where I want to go. Then you say, great, now I'm going to create the content I'm going to distribute for different networks. Then you start seeing engagement and you go, how is that I see more engagement on particular pieces of content on specific networks than others? So you kind of measure it in real time, and then what you do is you amplify it with paid. So what we do, for example, on Facebook is we put out a lot of organic content, the content created specifically for our communities, but we also watch it in real time, and that's the key. And we say, how does that perform? And if it performs well, we amplify it with traditional, we change we're sort of consistently doing the A/B testing to see how can the two work together in a meaningful way, and you go back to, you go through the whole cycle again. So you are in this state of permanent beta with your marketing. And this actually goes towards my third trend that I think is huge, that I think we should have been looking at in the past number of years, and some brands were, is real-time marketing. So going back to that chart is real-time measurement interaction. How are you using your analytics, listening data, taking all the big data and making it actionable, measurable, and then how do you actually apply it to this whole cycle? To be effective, we need to create this state of urgency within our companies and within our marketing strategies. Because what they do is they impact the way we put together strategies, they impact content marketing, they impact our sort of media and messaging optimization, sort of the A/B testing continuously that I'm talking about. It impacts online and offline events, our product development, etc. Like the list is much longer than this, but that is why this is so important. And the reason that we want to look at real-time marketing is because relevancy has a deadline. Right now you have this huge pool of information and noise out there, and everybody's banging on your door and saying, hey, look at our message, look at our message. And now with social, it's becoming even more so, right? So you have to have Facebook newsfeed to filter the messages that may be most relevant. You're going to start seeing more and more filtering happening within the social environments. How do you break through that filter? It's the same problem we had with traditional media years ago, right? And the fact is that relevancy has a deadline. How are you taking advantage of that? The times where we take 6 months to actually create a program, they're gone. At a maximum, you have 3 weeks right now, or you're out of the game. So we all watch Super Bowl, I'm assuming. All right, so you've seen this. This has been shared a number of times out there online. But this is, an example of how Oreo took advantage of a blackout, and came out with the response and with the content or a visual that was so timely. People shared it. What now? 16,000 retweets, 6,000 favorites. That's enormous for the organic numbers for any brand, even with the brand for a brand like Oreo, with the number of fans that they have on their Facebook page, it's still humongous number. I can tell you that right now. And you have other brands like Tide that came in and chimed in with their messages, right? You have brands like, you have nonprofit organizations who fight poverty, like one that took this opportunity to remind us that some parts of the world never have power. There you have Walgreens that came out with a salesy message. Hey, we have candles, come see us. Just reminding you. And you have PBS that went a little bit competitive, right? Where they just kind of took a little bit of a jab at their competition, and then you have this. Now, obviously, I don't know why the number of retweets and favorites is so low, because I thought that's one of the best. But then again, I'm a woman, and there's a man, and his underwear there. So what they did is they said, listen, we're going to use the latest technology, Vine, which is not a lot of brands using, and then we're going to take that, and show our sort of social prowess on top of being real time. So they took the video of, hey, since the lights are still out, you might as well, maybe do a little exercise. Each interprets their message differently, but they had this, set of some, video shots that they put in one quick video and put it out there. So, there's different ways to do it. There's a way to reply in real time, and there's ways to make your marketing personal, and that is where you're hitting it big time. Here's my example. This December, I tweeted REI and I said, all right, REI team, what do you got for me? I want to buy some Christmas gifts. What do you have? Half hour later, I get this. A custom video, right, guys? Custom video that comes back and says, well, Ekaterina, since you asked, we have it obliged. We did a little bit of research, and we think that product is actually awesome for you. You should go check it out. I mean, half an hour. Who can produce a custom video as a response to me right now in half an hour and post it? As a brand, Howard can. Howard can, but as a brand, it's just not. The reality is we are not equipped to do that, right? So I dug deeper. I'm like, whoa. Well, not only these guys actually got a bunch of exposure from me speaking at multiple events, using that as an example, me writing a Fast Company article, which is a ton of earned media. I actually dug deeper and I said, okay, well, let's look at how they do that. Apparently, they actually set up an in-house production team. They have folks called Green Vests in their local stores. And they set up those little production rooms where if they get an inquiry, on Twitter or online, they actually, if people are seriously looking for something, they did this whole gift picks program where they actually reply with a video explaining in 30 seconds why this particular product is great for you and why you need to go buy. I mean, that's amazing. You know what happened? In 2 weeks that they were shooting, they shot 90 videos. It didn't cost them that much. Their traffic to their site doubled. In several weeks, who wants to double their traffic to their site? Sign me up, right? So what's interesting is it is low key. They have 3 people running the team, so you don't have that sort of excuse of, oh, but we can't do it. Of course we can, and they do it quite well. Now there is real-time marketing, and then there is real-time thinking, a mentality of a sort of real-time. There is knowing your customer so darn well that you can actually create something absolutely amazing. Ramon de Leon, on the right. A guy who owns a 6-store Domino's Pizza franchise, 6 stores in Chicago, right? Some of you know him, Rick knows him. So he does amazing things. When he was at one of the events where with MC Hammer, what do you think the first thing he did? I mean, guess. Your guess would probably be he ran out there and asked for an autograph for himself, right? Your other guess would be, oh, can I take a picture? I love you, right? What he did is he did none of that. He knows his customers so well that he knew that there is one woman out there that buys pizza from him all the time that cannot live without MC Hammer. She loves him, she talks about it. That's, it's so important to her. He came up to him and said, listen, I have this customer who's your biggest fan you probably can find. I want an autograph for her. He did that. Not only he did that, he always brings a ton of digits. I wish I'd have a picture of his, because at some point I stacked them, and he has several cameras, several video cameras, several different, he has like a stack of technology he carries with him. He's a one-man show. He videotaped MC Hammer actually giving him an autograph, and he asked him to say a couple of words for his fan. How do you think that woman felt? That's knowing your customers. Now there's knowing your customers, and there's just absolute brilliance, right? That's one of my favorite examples, a little bit old, but I just still cracks me up every time I hear it. A guy tweets at a smart car. Pardon my French, but a bird crapped on a smart car. Totaled it. All right? Okay. I mean, as a brand, you would go, well, I'm going to let it go because the guy only has 4,000 followers. He's, in ad industry, he's just trying to, to get to me, because if you look at his actual feed, the guy's hilarious. No, the brand said, heck no, we'll never miss that opportunity. It's brilliant. They come back with this. Actually, it takes 45 million pigeon crabs to total the car. 360,000 turkey crabs. And if you look golden emu, it's 45,000. Right? I mean, that's sheer brilliance. And they get this. Outsmarted by smart car. Best social response ever. Have any of you here as a brand got this tweet? Ever? Because if you do, I commend you. But how brilliant is that? Right? So, real time in everything we do, but do not fall in the trap of being out of context or not adding value. Absolutely have to add value. We know a bunch of those examples when when Egypt kind of exploded. Kenneth Cole was not so smart enough to tweet this. It's you're not adding value. Maybe you are in context, but this is just not appropriate. There's being in context and being inappropriate. So this is why real-time response takes a lot of playing, right? It is, you think it's real-time, you think it's easy, it isn't. First of all, you gotta listen. You need to know what kind of conversations are happening. That's why people build command centers, and that's a whole other topic for discussion. You need to make sure you have meaningful data, but more than having meaningful data, you have to have actionable insights. If you hand it out to your team and they know what to do with it, zero, right? You might have a load of big data, but if there's 2 to 3 insights that you can actually act upon right this minute, that is the most valuable data you'll ever have. Stakeholder management, you have to fight the fight. And a lot of brands that are, you would think, more advanced than this, they still fighting the fight of bringing departments together and making sure everybody works, similar strategies, similar messaging, holistic brand perception, right? You have to have flexible strategies, editorial calendars. Most of all, you have to have employee and agency empowerment. If you work with a great agency like Oreo, the agency comes back to you and says, listen, we got this idea. You go, approved, go live. You have to empower your employees and your agencies to act fast. And if you're not there, give them the power to act fast. And if you're working with an agency who you don't trust, switch the agency. On-brand risk taking. Take the risks, but make sure they're always on brand, right? There is stuff that Red Bull does that's awesome, that's always on brand because that's who they are. They're extreme sports, they did the live jump. It's always about who they are. And there's risk taking that's way off brand. So you want to make sure you stay on. One of my favorite topics that just kind of follow that, because now in real-time marketing you use a lot of visuals, is the rise of visual marketing, a rise of social, sort of visual social media. A picture is worth 1,000 words. We came from having 1,000-word blogs to 140 message tweets to now just a picture that communicates the message. They are powerful. They speak to your heart. They speak to your emotions. Then they transcend cultures and languages. They tell stories. They speak louder than words. Yes, can I have an aw, please? Because I heard that you're not a legitimate speaker until you actually included a picture of puppies and kittens in your presentation. That's true? Yeah. I heard that's true. So, here you go. I'm a legitimate speaker now, I should tell baseline. There is a rise of visual social media. These are just some of the stats. There are so many more networks. There's so many more things and just kind of trends that are happening. But people engage with each other around visuals. You now have a span of 6 to 10 seconds to tell people whether they want to read your blog post or whether they want to even read your Facebook message, right? They look at the visual or video that's attached and they make a decision on the fly. It is happening, and it is, I think, the new way to market. Now, why do you need to take my word for it and recalibrate content strategy to include visuals, right? So one of the studies shows that 44% of respondents are more likely to engage with brands if they have more visuals and more rich media. On Facebook, top 10 brand pages, their photos and videos drive the most engagement, up 12 times more than linked, and in doing so very impactfully. 3 years ago, we noticed it on Intel page, and we never looked back. There was one time when we posted, we redesigned our museum, right? And you gotta be a hardcore geek to want to see pictures of Intel's museum redesign. I mean, it's pretty touch the story of technology, but really, how many women here care about Intel museum? Oh, one. Oh, I got a soulmate. We talked after this shit. But the reality is that we went out, we didn't even do a post. We just shot 10, 12 pictures, we posted as an album on our page. 17,000 likes. I mean, I don't care if your page has 20 million fans, you are not getting 17,000 likes on an album that has no message and just visuals. I mean, how cool is that, right? So you have to use it smartly. I talked to Facebook. Facebook told me 2x engagement with visuals on Facebook, but 90% high engagement on messages that are timely, like 4th of July or holidays. So we started producing content on Intel page that is actually custom specifically for our communities, for our social communities, and a lot of times specifically custom for Facebook, right? Big game, we want to be your Valentine, spring. I mean, seriously, who wants to put happy first day of spring message on their social networks and get 12,000, I mean, forget the likes and comments, but 12,000 shares? That's cool, right? And it's just a visual, there's no real sort of message to it, but it says, we care about you, that we actually care about you enough we design a custom image. And if you notice, we keep it on brand. See the similarities between all of the images? Infographics are big. This infographic was designed over a year ago by our marketing teams and marketing PR teams. It is still trending. If you go look at the infographics on Twitter, people just recently in the news, it was picked up again. It is valuable information presented in a visual way and in a format people want to share, right? So we were very careful about the formats, which network is going to go to, because the formats are slightly different, where we want to make sure we add value, because let's face it, there's a lot of awful infographics out there. Pinterest. Remember I told you how much we love our fans and what they create. We actually created a board called Fan Lab, where I go through this painful process of asking our fans whenever they take ourselves on Facebook or anywhere else with something custom created specifically for us, saying, I've heard you Intel, this is for you. And I go and ask them, is that actually, is that okay to post, right? Because you want to make sure there's no legal repercussions, etc. And then they post on our Fan Lab board. People love it. We talk about our heritage, which is very much compelling to young millennial audiences. We talk to women. Look at this geek chic board. This dress actually lights up. I know it. We'll look at other programs. We have quotes. Also, quotes is something that does very, very well. There's a slide share. I mean, come on. If I can, and I'm not, Basil was kind enough to say, hey, I'm, sort of my own brand. I don't think I'm that big a deal. But Intel is a big brand. But this is my own personal slide share. What came out, and I took 12 of my favorite quotes from Mike Zuckerberg, and I created a slide share. If I can garner organically 84,000 views in a matter of a week and a half, you can do it too. You know, SlideShare is an amazing vehicle for lead generation, for traffic driving. I mean, if you haven't checked it out, take a look at it. We have Intel at IT SlideShare, and it drives a ton of traffic without us doing any media or any extra effort. We'll just put the documents out there. That brings me to number 5, and that is actually one of the most painful and slowest developments that I see in the industry, but we are going to get there. And that is something I'm also extremely passionate about. We need to take our social engagement from dorm rooms to boardrooms. We need to make sure our CEOs engage. It is hard to do, but it is important. Scott Monty is coming right after me. He'll tell you that his executives and he himself at Ford actually engage in social. Look at this study just recently done. It talks about social engagement of executives improves brand loyalty, brand image, purchase intent, etc., etc. The data is unbelievable. Right? And not only it is great around sort of what people think externally, people also think the same thing internally. IBM CEO study said that 94% of employees believe that social CEOs can actually help enhance their brand. And obviously it will also make your companies more engage and have bigger impact. Here's an example, Richard Branson. You know, he's very social. He wrote recently on LinkedIn, "Why are business leaders online?" You know, he talks about the opportunities that they're missing if they aren't. He's extremely engaged. SAP CEO is very engaged. He talks about actually having access to thought leaders. He's engaging himself, and he talks about how he can actually create a voice around topics that he cares about, like innovation, business transformation, IT, etc., where it stops being a black box. Actually go out and humanize your brand, humanize your products, tell them why it's important. Kim Stevenson, our new CIO, appointed last year. She is amazing. She just went off and started her own Twitter account. She didn't care about what teams say. You know, she asked a couple of questions, but she is very, very engaged. Here's one of her favorite success stories. How it helps her connect with employees. Employee tweeted at her, say, "Hey boss, I completed my first mobile app." She writes right back and says, "You're a rock star. This is amazing. This is, you know, mobile apps are the future of enterprise." How do you think this employee felt? She told me that she now knew after several engagements with this person, and he's way down her chain, like he's not reporting to her or anything, he's way down the chain. She says she knew more about that employee than anybody else, and probably his own manager. And I'll tell you exactly how this employee felt, because a week later she did a big auditorium gathering of her, you know, whole IT department to give them an update of where they've been and where they want to go. And she told the story, and the guy in the back jumped up and started screaming, "That is me! That's me!" How do you think 500 people in that auditorium felt when he did that? You connect with your employees, you connect with your customers. There's a lot of amazing benefits to it. So let's recap. Engage Gen Y and now Gen Z, who's coming of age, you know, allow them to how to work with you to shape your brand. Integrate the whole paid, earned, and owned approach. In shaping your content strategy, don't forget visuals and work with your executives to find the digital voice. And most importantly, no matter what you do, nurture that sort of sense and culture of agility. And, you know, to close with, I just wanted to leave you with this video, because marketing doesn't have to be boring. So I hope you enjoy it. Let's see if it plays for you. guys, if the simple Nestle water brand can do it with their product, we can do it too. Thank you.